Imagine being the last bride standing in front of a dusty crowd in a lawless border town, your name shouted like cattle, your future hanging on the nod of a stranger's head, while the sun scorches your skin and every pair of eyes on you feels like a brand searing your soul. That was Eliza May's fate the morning she realized she had no family left to protect her, no coin to buy her freedom, and no choice but to stand as the final offering at the Dry Creek auction. The men laughed, the women turned away in pity, and the auctioneer's gavel hovered midair when suddenly a low, gravelly voice cut through the silence. "I'll take her." It wasn't just any voice, it was Cole Hartman, a broken cowboy whose life had been carved apart by loss, whiskey, and betrayal. People thought Cole was finished, a ghost of the man he once was. But when his hand rose, the whole town shifted. Before I take you into this long and unforgettable journey of grit, redemption, heartbreak, and unexpected love, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because trust me, you don't want to miss how this story twists and burns all the way to its final breath. Dry Creek wasn't a town where dreams survived. It was a place where hope came to die. The streets were lined with cracked wooden boards, dust curling like smoke with every bootstep, and eyes that never smiled. The auction block sat in the square like a gallows, and Eliza May's heart hammered as each name before hers was called, each girl taken by men with more greed than kindness. She had been holding her breath, praying that maybe, just maybe, someone decent would claim her. But as the crowd thinned, her chances vanished like water in sand. She stood alone now, the last bride left, the whispers cutting sharper than knives. "She's too skinny, probably cursed, not worth the trouble." The auctioneer's hammer wavered when a shadow detached itself from the wall. Cole Hartman, once the proudest rancher this side of the Rio Grande, now a shell of a man with whiskey in his veins and ghosts in his eyes, raised his hand. The crowd gasped. This was the cowboy who had lost his wife in a fire, who had buried his child beneath a twisted oak, who hadn't been seen in church or sober in years. Eliza's eyes locked with his, and for a moment she swore she saw something there, not desire, not pity, but a flicker of recognition, like two broken pieces finding each other in the rubble. With one nod, her fate was sealed, and the town buzzed with disbelief as Cole Hartman walked forward to claim the last bride of Dry Creek. Life on Cole's ranch wasn't a fairy tale. It was a graveyard of memories. The fields lay half-burnt, the barn sagged, and the rooms smelled faintly of smoke that never left since the fire that had claimed his family. Eliza entered with caution, expecting cruelty, but instead she found silence, a silence so deep it felt like grief itself had taken residence there. At first, Cole barely spoke, keeping to his whiskey and long rides into the hills, leaving her to cook, clean, and wonder why he had chosen her at all. The town mocked her when she went for supplies, calling her the widow's replacement, whispering that she'd never fill the shoes of Cole's dead wife. But Eliza was stronger than they knew. She worked the land, mended the fences, and refused to bow under their stares. Slowly, cracks appeared in Cole's armor. One night, when the storm ripped across the prairie, she found him sitting by the fireplace, staring at a charred locket. For the first time, he spoke. Not about her, but about the fire, about the betrayal of a partner who had lit it to steal his ranch, about the screams he couldn't forget. And in that moment, Eliza saw the truth. Cole Hartman wasn't broken by weakness. He was broken by loss. What she didn't know yet was that the man responsible for the fire was still alive, richer, more powerful, and hungrier for Cole's ruin than ever. The rival's name was Jeb Callahan, a ruthless rancher who had bribed sheriffs, cheated men out of their land, and laughed when Cole lost everything. He was also the one who had wanted Eliza May at the auction, but decided she wasn't worth the coin until he saw her with Cole. Then she became a weapon. One evening in town, Jeb cornered her, his voice dripping with venom as he whispered, "You think Cole saved you? He's cursed, girl. And I'll see you both ruined before winter." Fear crawled under her skin, but Eliza didn't tell Cole, not yet. She had learned that the broken cowboy carried enough weight already. Instead, she strengthened herself, practicing with the old rifle, preparing for the storm she knew was coming. But Jeb didn't just threaten, he acted. He sent men to sabotage the ranch, poison the well, burn down the corral. Each attack pushed Cole closer to rage, and Eliza closer to the truth of her own courage. When Cole finally discovered the full extent of Jeb's betrayal, that the fire had not only been arson, but that Jeb had locked his family inside, his fury roared like thunder. He was ready to kill, but Eliza stopped him, her hands on his chest, her voice steady. "If you go down his road, Cole, you'll lose yourself forever. Let's fight smarter. Let's fight together." For the first time, Cole saw her not as the girl from the auction, but as a partner, fierce and unyielding. And together they prepared to face the final reckoning. The showdown came at dawn. Dry Creek had seen gunfights before, but none like this. Cole and Eliza stood side by side in the street as Jeb and his hired guns lined up opposite them. The crowd watched from doorways and windows, the air thick with dust and fear. Cole's hand hovered over his revolver, but it was Eliza who fired the first shot, her bullet striking the ground at Jeb's feet, a warning sharper than words. "This ends today," she said, her voice carrying like a church bell. The gunfire that followed was chaos, smoke curling, men shouting, boots pounding. Cole fought with the fury of a man reclaiming his soul, and Eliza moved with the precision of someone who refused to be a victim again. When the dust cleared, Jeb Callahan lay face down in the dirt, his empire crumbling as his men fled. Silence fell over Dry Creek, broken only by the slow creak of the saloon door. Cole stood breathing hard, blood on his sleeve, but his eyes no longer hollow. Eliza stepped to his side, and together they walked away, not as broken souls bound by desperation, but as survivors who had forged something unbreakable in the fire of pain and redemption. The town would never forget the day the last bride of the auction and the broken cowboy rewrote their fate. And as the prairie wind carried their shadows into the horizon, their story became legend, whispered in saloons and on porches for years to come, proof that even in the darkest dust of Dry Creek, hope could rise again.